Yeah. So apparently, what's happening today, you know, Anderson Cooper from CNN. Big ups to Anderson Cooper. He keeps it real. I like Anderson Cooper. He's a cool dude. Um, he basically did a report about what's happening today. Basically, what's happening today, or what has been happening or brewing recently. Uh, the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. I call him the Donald. He basically he wants to check this out, everybody. He wants to totally eliminate after-school programs. Period. Nationwide. Okay, this is what he wants to do. Alrighty. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below so that you can check out the story for yourself, or you could just look it up online if you have online internet access. This is what the Donald wants to do. Basically, the Donald feels that after-school programs have not proven to help children succeed. So I guess he doesn't see it as a positive. Okay. I don't know. Personally, I think the Donald may need to get his eyes checked. He may need to see an optometrist or an ophthalmologist. He may need surgery there. But, do I agree with that? No, not at all. When I was a kid, let me tell you something real quick. Let me speak on this. Old LA. When I was a kid, for a few years, because it's a temporary deal. When I was a kid, you know, my mother worked a lot. My mother would work a lot. And basically how it went for a few years, you know, after school, you know, my mother would still be working. So I would go to the after school program that was in my school when I was a kid, my elementary school. I would go to an after school the after school program. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. The director, the guy that was in charge for my first after school program, excuse me, his name was Frank. He was awesome. He was awesome. And trust me, I was not always the most well-behaved kid. So when I cut up, once in a while, Frank would yoke me up. He'd be, you know, he hit me with a scorpion routine. Like, get over here! You know, he used to hit only like once or twice he did that. But, you know, but anyway, because I liked it there, so I really didn't misbehave too much there at the after-school center because it was so cool. I loved it. I had a great time. We played sports. You know, for the most part, I remember all the kids liking each other. You know, we played sports, we played games, there's a playground in the back. It was basically, and it wasn't too far away from my actual school. So basically, it was like we got full access as kids. We got full access to the playground in the back where we would go for recess at lunchtime. We got full access, you know. Whole park, way less kids. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I loved it. Had a great time. And, you know, eventually I changed schools because my mother changed work locations. You know, and that was kind of like the thing, you know what I'm saying? I would go to school nearby to where she worked, so it was convenient for her to pick me up after work. And then I went to another after-school center, and it was cool. That was a little different. They fed us food, like cooked food. The food would usually be good, and it was a cool situation. I would just, for the most part, I would just hang out. And, you know, sometimes I mean, sometimes I would do my homework, but, you know, for me back then, schoolwork was just so easy. It didn't even matter to me. It's like, I'll have this done and correct with the quickness. So what I would look forward to doing when I went to after school centers, I would just look forward to having fun and hanging out with people that I liked, that I enjoyed. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I would hope that they enjoyed me too. You know, I would hope that the feeling is mutual. Now, to learn about this news today, I take it personal for a number of reasons. No, I do not agree with what the Donald is talking about. And I'm looking at it from a variety of ways. I'm looking at it like, you know, well, maybe you, Mr. Donald, Mr. the Donald, maybe, you know, you were in a position as a kid where maybe you didn't have to go to after school centers. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you didn't have to go to after school centers. So you probably have no idea what after school centers, after school programs mean to so many families, to so many children, to so many parents. You know, like I said, my mother put me in after school centers because, you know, for a few years because, you know, when I would get out of school, she would still be working and I was too young to, I hadn't lived long enough to be like, okay, I'm just going to get up and go home. It's like, no, I'm not there yet. I haven't lived long enough, you know. I mean, I wasn't a baby, I wasn't a toddler, but I haven't lived long enough. You know what I'm saying? So I would have to go. I would have to go to the after school centers until my mother got off from work, and then she could pick me up, and then we would go home. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people depend on it, and I think a lot of children enjoy it. Like I told you, I loved it. I had a great time. My first after school center, I loved it. I loved it. I was not happy when I had to change schools because I love that the after school program to a point. I like the school, but that after school program for me, that after school center, there was so many days at school. Like I looked forward to the after school center because I knew he was going to have fun. Mr. Frank, the guy in charge, he was so freaking cool. Everyone loved him, and we all had fun. We all had fun. And we weren't that deep, but we were deep enough. I mean, we all liked each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, though. I think a lot of families depend on something like this because, like I said, they might have, some children, they might have parents that are working and maybe they can't necessarily pick up their kids after school, or they don't have friends or family members that can, pick up their children after school for them, as favor. So you have the after school centers, the after school programs. You know what I'm saying? Do I think the after school programs do not help children succeed? That is one of the stupidest things I have ever heard. It's one of the stupidest things I can think of. That is an awful statement. And that comes, to me, that sounds like somebody that really absolutely has no idea what they are talking about. They have no personal experience with the situation or the subject or the circumstance. What are you talking about? That is not true at all whatsoever. That's crazy. That is crazy. And there's, after school programs, there's a variety of them, They're not all the same. Like I said, the first one I went to, it was great. It was awesome. We did a lot of things. We did a lot of fun activities. It was great. It was like Kids Incorporated. If you remember Kids Incorporated. The second one, it was a little, not so much more serious, but the structure was different, You could get help with your homework or your schoolwork. They fed us food. They gave us cooked food, which I was not expecting. It was different from my previous after-school center. So it was just like, okay, cool. And normally the food was good. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember any food. There's only one time that I had food that I didn't like, but for the most part, the food was fine. The food was fine. No complaints, really. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't agree with those claims and those statements or those personal opinions that, after school programs, after school centers do not benefit the children or help them succeed. It definitely benefits the parents if, like my mother at the time, could not pick me up after I was done with school because she was working. It benefits a lot of people. It benefits a lot of families. It's very helpful. If you have no personal knowledge or personal experience about this, hey, we got the internet access. Talk to somebody that knows or go online and look it up. After school programs are cool. It's not a bad thing. For the Donald to make those statements, it sounds pretty daggone cheap on his side, his budget and all this crap. You know what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. But do I agree with the statement that they're not beneficial? After school programs, after school centers are not beneficial to the children. They don't help them succeed, or not so much. They don't make a positive influence on the children or even the families themselves, their parents. That's crazy. That is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard somebody dare to say. That's crazy. And I look at it like, okay, you, Mr. Donald, you probably have no personal experience in regards to this. Not at all. That is crazy. That's dumb. And the story is basically, they're talking about an after-school center in after-school program in Georgia, state of Georgia. I grew up in New York City. Okay, as a child. I grew up in New York City. So this is nationwide. There's after-school programs all over the freaking place. You know what I'm saying? This isn't just some territorial thing. There's after-school centers everywhere that I would think that, they can afford to have that. And I think a lot of people, a lot of families, mothers and, mothers, fathers, family members, relatives, what have you, I think they appreciate that option, because they're working. You know what I'm saying? They're working. Maybe they can't pick up, or maybe they can't pick up their children when the children get out of school because they're still at work. They work till 5, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. And, you know, me being me now, as my living experience has progressed, you know, my mother worked a lot. My father worked a lot, you know, and, you know, not so much flexible hours, but, you know, a variety of hours. You know what I'm saying? A variety of hours. I tell people today, if I'm available, I can work anytime, because, especially because I enjoy what I do for a living. My grandfather worked. My grandmothers worked. You know what I'm saying? So, I see where I get it from, and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? But check out the link below. If you have any comments, have any opinions or statements about this situation, you know, put it in the comment box below, please. I just think this is wild. I just think this is wild, and I think the Donald is really just not holding back. He's really showing everybody straight up. He's showing us all his ass, of course. I think he's gonna do that nonstop while he has this job right now as the president of the United States of America. But, you know, I think he's really crapping on a lot of people. And it's just, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, come on, dude. Are you thinking this through? It sounds like, I don't know if he is or he isn't, but it sounds like for the most part, he's really just thinking about money. I mean, come on, bro. You know, come on. Do you even know about this? You got to talk to somebody that actually knows about this before you decide to do something like this. You know, you're trying to eliminate the after-school programs throughout the United States of America. That is whack. That's awful. Get out of here with that. Straight up. Get out of here with that.